Hello, my name is Rick Elfman, and my report is on how the Citizen United decision changed the political landscape in America. I'd like to introduce you to the Supreme Court ruling in the case of Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. In January of 2010, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations and unions are the same as people. That is, they have the same rights as people. They have the freedom of speech. And therefore, corporations and unions can give as much money as they want to any political candidate's campaigns. I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars. For example, the Karl Rove Super PAC, and he, as you know, was the chief architect in the two George Bush campaigns, is called the Anti-Tax Club for Growth. They raised over $100 million. And the Koch brothers Super PAC, which is called Americans for Prosperity, also raised over $100 million, all through the donations of wealthy individuals and corporations. They can use this money to promote their candidates any way they wish, through political ads on television, radio, newspapers, and they can also use the money to try to stop a candidate from winning an election, like they did in 2012 to Barack Obama. They spent over $1 billion in negative advertising, and as we know, it didn't work. In this election year, out of all the money raised so far, only 148 families in America have contributed just over 50% of the campaign funds. So that means that our politics are controlled by very few wealthy people. Before Citizens United, there were funds called the 527. That was the legal number of the law. They were similar to Citizens United, but the money was supposed to be used for social causes and goodwill, not directly on campaigns. But it really was a cover-up for campaign contributions. But there were limits on 527s, how they could use their money. They were not allowed to use it for independent expenditures. That is, measuring, meaning how much money is spent on communications that expressly advocate the election or defeat of a clearly identified candidate. And they cannot use the money on electioneering communications, which are the broadcasts that currently identify a candidate and are publicly distributed before an election and are targeted to the relevant electorate. So these rules were helpful in leveling the playing field, but they didn't go far enough. And then along came Citizens United, and it abolished these rules and allowed for an open free-for-all. The super PACs replaced the 527s, and before the 527s, there was the McCain-Feingold law, which was started in 2007, that really clamped down on campaign spending and limited the individual donations to only $5,200 per person. But as we know, it didn't stand. Our Federal Election Commission has been inept at fighting back the Citizens United decision. The Supreme Court ruling was a close 5-4 decision. It was voted along party lines, with Justice Kennedy making the deciding vote. How can Citizens United be overturned? Today, only by a constitutional amendment, which with our current divided Congress would be an impossible task. There are 23 senators currently on both sides of the aisle that are trying to change the ruling and change it to publicly funded elections. They want the states and Congress to have the right to overturn Citizens United. They want to take the individual and corporate donors out of the equation and have the public make small contributions to candidates, a maximum of $150, and then the federal will give a matching fund of 6 times the amount raised. This system would allow regular working class people like teachers, plumbers, firemen to run for public office. And if elected, these regular working folks would have their power to enact laws that would help the regular, ordinary people, like raising the minimum wage, instituting a family paid leave act, equal pay for equal work for women, etc. People today are frustrated and angry that they have no voice in government and that the political system doesn't work for them. They hear about the multi-million-dollar contributions to candidates given by the likes of a Sheldon Adelson on the Republican side or a George Soros on the Democrat side. They see the income inequality issue and they feel they can't get ahead because the game is rigged to the top 1%. Do I sound like Bernie Sanders? Maybe I do. Public financing would level the playing field for elections and open it up to everyone, not just millionaires. I'd like to end with a quote from a renowned law professor from the University of California, Irvine, Mr. Rick Hansen. Without any politician taking a simple bribe, wealth has an increasingly disproportionate influence in our politics. And a Supreme Court that will accept political equality is a compelling interest, will justify a reason for campaign reform. Thank you very much for listening. The thing you can do is contact your local congressmen, senators, and governors to see if we can overturn this law. Thank you.